What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports. We're going to give you our early thoughts on the Auburn Tigers for 2024. Will they be better or worse? Kind of a tricky question because we saw them at their best come very close to beating Georgia and Alabama, and even Ole Miss was a one-score game. So we saw this team look really good last year, but then we saw them look terrible at times. Look at New Mexico State. I mean, it's just a team that was really inconsistent in year one under Hugh Freeze. So what's better or what's worse? Well, I think you just have to kind of take a look at the big picture, the overall. So last year, 6-7, losing their bowl game, 5th in the SEC West. Will they be better? We'll start on the offensive side. I really felt like this team was going to go into the transfer portal. They did not. And so I guess they're going to stick with Peyton Thorne unless they decide to make a move after the spring. I think Peyton Thorne is not as bad as what some people think, because the receivers were just really bad for this team last year. I mean, they were awful. And so I don't think he was the whole problem, but he's definitely not a guy that's going to go out there and win a Heisman Trophy. So at quarterback, you would expect it to be a similar situation with Thorne next year. Maybe he gets a little better, a little more comfortable with the offense, but it's really going to be about the receivers, and it's almost like a complete overhaul. They have guys that are gone, guys that enter the transfer portal. It's just going to be a totally different look at receiver. They added some pieces in the transfer portal, and you guys, I'm sure, know about the recruiting class that they've added at wide receiver. Usually, I don't talk a lot about freshmen because they don't come in and contribute right away normally, but you're going to have those special players, and they might have a couple in that class. So I think wide receiver will be better. Still, I don't know that it's going to make you're going to have a huge jump in year two under Hugh Freeze, but I think it'll be better. I think Peyton Thorne will be better. I think he'll be more comfortable with the offense. And then you look at the run game, they should be really, really good in the run game. Everyone's coming back, starting with Jarquez Hunter. Damari Austin will be back. Brian Battie will be back. Jeremiah Cobb will be back. Everyone that contributed at running back last year will be back unless someone enters the transfer portal. And so the run game should be really, really good for this team. And then on the offensive line, they lose several players, but this was an offensive line that was deep and kind of didn't have the same starting five all year. And so you have guys that played that will be back. And so I think the offensive line should still be pretty solid. Connor Lew was probably their best offensive lineman. He was a true freshman last year. He'll be back. And so I think the offensive line will be similar, maybe a little bit better than they were last year. Run game should be even better. Passing game, you would think, would be better. I mean, it can't be much worse. So offensively, yeah, I think this Auburn team should be better. I'm going to say better on offense in 2024. Now, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. This team was pretty solid on defense. They weren't great. They were better against the pass than they were against the run. So you start with the run defense. You start with the front seven. They're going to lose some players. They lose Marcus Harris. He was really good for them. Justin Rogers is gone. So that you lose a few other players up front. Pass rusher, who is going to be that guy for them? Keldrick Falk, he was a freshman last year. Maybe he is the guy that steps in. He showed some flashes last year. Jalen McLeod, he should be back. He's a veteran. So you've got some players there. We'll see what happens on the defensive line. It's an area that needs to be better. Will it be better? We'll see. In the middle, they lose several players, several defensive tackles, so depth could be a concern there. When you look at what they did in the transfer portal, though, they did add some players. They added Trill Carter from Texas to go on that defensive line, so he should help them out as well. And then at linebacker, Gage Keys, that was the other guy. They added him on the defensive line as well. At linebacker, they added a transfer from Duke, really good player. And you look at what they lose Cam Riley. They lose Larry Nixon, not really huge losses there. They have Asante coming back at linebacker. They have Austin Keys coming back at linebacker. So I think front seven has a chance to maybe be a little bit better than last year or about the same. I would say I would lean towards a little bit better. And then you look at the secondary. This is where you have more question marks. They lose some really good players. DJ James is gone. Nehemiah Pritchett. These were two really good cornerbacks for them. Jalen Simpson, really the leader for this team on defense at safety. He's going to be gone. But they do return Keontae Scott. That's a big return there. Zion Puckett, another guy that's gone, a veteran in that secondary. So I'm a little concerned about the secondary. How much of a drop will they have? They added Kite from Alabama, a cornerback. They added Jaron Thompson, a safety from Texas. But still, you're losing some really, really good players in that secondary. So I think this Auburn defense will be about the same. I'm going to say maybe a little bit worse just because the secondary was really good last year, and maybe there's a bit of a step back there. And I haven't really seen anything that makes me think their front seven is going to be a lot better, maybe a little bit better. So I think you would say defense about the same, maybe a little bit worse. I'm going to say just a little bit worse, but still should be a solid defense. But the offense being better is going to be the key. That's where this team has a chance to take some big steps, and I think the offense will be better. I don't think it'll be significantly better. I don't think they're going to go out and be a top 10 offense, but I think they'll be better. I think their run game will be really good, and I think they'll be able to throw the ball a little bit better. So I'm going to say overall this Auburn team should be better in year 2 under Hugh Freeze. You know, an 8-4, 9-3 type season is definitely not out of the question. If they can get a little bit more consistency out of the pass game and the defense doesn't really drop off much, this could be a team that's a top 25 team next year. We'll see what happens. But what are your thoughts on Auburn? Do you think they'll be better or worse in 2024? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below.